in Nigeria and across the world to News Circle at this hour, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Anita Patrick. A quick reminder, the nation's capital here, Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and on Star Times channel 276. Now the news in full. The Department of State Services, DSS, has filed a 5-count charge against former presidential candidate Omoyele Sowore alongside social media platforms X, Core, and Meta Incorporation over posts critical of President Bola Tinubu. The suit was lodged at the Federal High Court in Abuja after Sowore allegedly refused to delete certain posts about the president. The charges were brought on behalf of the DSS and the federal government by MB Abubakar, Director of Public Prosecution at the Federal Ministry of Justice, alongside 4 other counsel to the DSS. President Bola Tinubu has ended his work vacation and will return to Abuja to resume official duties. Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, disclosed this in a statement stating that the president had left Nigeria for France as part of his annual holiday, initially intending to split his time between France and the United Kingdom. A total of 4,444,505 Nigerians have pre-registered online in the ongoing nationwide continuous voter registration (CVR) in the last 4 weeks. The Commission's National Commissioner and Chairman of Information and Voter Education Committee, Sam Olumeku, disclosed this in a statement he issued in Abuja. Independent National Electoral Commission says the combined figures of the completed online pre-registration and physical registration stood at 509,929 as at last Friday. The Office of the Clerk to the National Assembly has distanced itself from reports suggesting it has the power to determine whether a suspended Kogi Central lawmaker, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, can resume legislative duties. In a statement issued in Abuja, the Director of Information, Mullah bin Allah, who spoke on behalf of the clerk's office, clarified that it merely functions as administrative arm of the legislature and cannot review or overturn resolutions of the Senate. Into Niger State Governor Mohammed Bago has reassured security agencies and federal government establishments in the state of his administration's continued support to ensure improved security and better service delivery. This was disclosed in a statement made available by his Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Bolaji Ibrahim. Bago made the pledge during a courtesy visit to his heads of newly posted security agencies and a federal establishments coordinator in the state. Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities and Non-Academic Staff Union of Universities and Allied Institutions have given the federal government a 7-day ultimatum over unresolved welfare issues, warning of a looming nationwide strike. In a joint letter signed, the association's president, Mohammed Ibrahim, the unions decried the unjust disbursement of the earned allowances to staff of universities, non-payment of outstanding allowances, among others. And to some health, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, says it has activated preparedness plans but assures the public there are currently no active cases of Ebola in the country, while urging vigilance and non-essential travel restrictions to countries with confirmed outbreaks. Correspondent Zarau Nasiru speaks with medical experts concerning the precautionary measures to be taken and files in this report.
Meanwhile, the World Health Organization has begun vaccinating frontline health workers and contacts of infected individuals in response to a new Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo's Kasai province. Ebola refers to Ebola virus disease, a severe an often fatal illness in humans and other primates caused by the Ebola virus. It's a hemorrhagic fever that spreads through direct contact with infected bodily fluids and can lead to symptoms like fever, muscle pain, and internal bleeding. In an exclusive interview with a public health physician, Dr. Omoha Amobi says Nigeria needs to be prepared for every outbreak and also mentioned health education concerning the disease as part of the precautionary measures, among others.
They are doing now health education, and that one is surveillance, and we should do that at the point of entry, border entry. Everybody coming from those countries, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Congo, should be checked at the border.
Dr. Omoha Amobi also says Ebola vaccine is the way to go in every country, as the vaccine is the primary method of prevention.
So the vaccine is the way forward, so that everybody will get vaccinated. It's a very deadly disease that they have a high mortality. In fact, it's something we should be concerned about. Other precautionary measure is also government policy. What do I mean by government policy? Government policy is training the healthcare providers, capacity building. When you train them, they'll be ready, they'll be equipped. We also go ahead and equip the hospital for response in pandemic. If you remember what happened in COVID shows that epidemic can overwhelm the country. No matter how sophisticated your healthcare facility is, it can overwhelm. So we need to be prepared for any outbreak.
Ebola was first confirmed in Nigeria on July 23, 2014, when Patrick Sawyer, a Liberian traveler, arrived in Lagos and was later diagnosed with the virus, marking the first index case of the disease in the country. Zahra Nasr, reporting for Global TV News.
Rising cases of insecurity in the nation's capital, Abuja, have continued to draw concerns from residents, from kidnapping to armed robbery and attacks on communities. Citizens say they no longer feel safe. Global TV correspondent Kabir Hassan completes the story.
Once regarded as the safest city in Nigeria, Abuja is now grappling with growing security challenges. Recent incidents of abduction in suburb, highway attacks, cases of phone snatching, one-child robbery have left many residents anxious. On the streets of the Federal Capital Territory, Nigerians are voicing their frustration.
In terms of security in Abuja, when you make a comparative analysis with Abuja and the Northeast, I think we are experiencing an unstable peace for now, while the Northeast are facing a strong, durable peace, which the government needs a strong intervention. This is something that might not just be done alone and can always be achieved through collaboration and dialogue.
It's not what it's okay, at least. It's still...
It's a little bit safer than other neighboring states. Because if you look at Abuja, inside town, you discover there may not be much challenges.
The resident says there is need for stronger community policing, intelligence sharing, and rapid response system to curb insecurity across Nigeria.
There is urgent need for the country, for the leaders to look inwardly, peruse carefully, and find out the lineup of all the people in security.
Well, I think the first thing the government needs to do is to actually, fund these security agencies. They need to be well paid. When they are well paid, then they will take their work more seriously.
Tackling this issue of insecurity in Nigeria is all about strengthening our security force and our borderline, especially the internal crisis we are having.
It's not only from the law enforcement agents. There needs to be a relationship. Security agencies need to work pari passu with the citizen.
While Abuja is still considered safer than many other cities, the growing insecurity in the city center is fueling calls for urgent measures. Residents insist that tackling insecurity in the capital must go hand in hand with addressing the root causes across Nigeria as a whole. Kabir Hassan, reporting for Global TV News.
You're watching the live broadcast of News Cycle. When News Cycle returns, farmers faults federal government's order as agro imports hits 2.2 trillion naira. Details coming shortly, plus foreign and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us. Welcome back. It's good to have you back. In business, the federal government's decision to privatize 91 agencies across different sectors has sparked mixed reactions among Nigerians. Some say it is a step towards efficiency and economic growth, while others fear it could lead to job losses and reduce access to essential services. Our business correspondent, Samuel Odi, has the details.
The announcement made recently by the Bureau of Public Enterprise marks one of the largest privatization exercises in Nigeria's history. The affected agencies cut across key sectors including transportation, agriculture, energy, and communications. Reactions, however, remained divided, while some economic experts argued that the move could usher in greater competitiveness and innovation. Critics warn it might lead to job loss and concentration of wealth in the hands of a few.
We were told that once it is bought over and it's being managed by a private firm, that we are going to have light all over in the country. But the reverse is the case. When they say they will privatize anything of the federal government, they go over to bought over by their companies. You know, when you are in power and you decide to do something like that, you know, it's a selfish ambition that it cannot be acceptable by ordinary.
Some Nigerians maintain that privatization will also curb corruption and waste in the public corporations that have historically underperformed despite huge budgetary allocations, while some, on the other hand, has raised concerns about the structure of which the privatization is handled.
If you look at the structure of NEPA, the people that are running the affairs, are they able to sustain it? Are they able to do the right thing that is meant to be done? Is this still not the same old tactics of, you know, government interference? If my person is not there, I'm not interested in it.
As the nation anticipates the impact of the bold reform, the debate over privatization continues between hopes of economic revitalization and fear of social displacement. Samuel Odi for Global Television News.
To some legislative stories, former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, and other stakeholders have weighed in on President Bola Tinubu's tax reform policies. Speaking at the maiden parliamentarian lecture organized by the House of Representatives Press Corps in Abuja, he described the reforms as necessary but called for transparency, accountability, and effective deployment of tax revenues. National Assembly correspondent tells us more. Room of the House of Representatives New Wing played host to lawmakers, journalists, and policy experts as the first parliamentarian lecture kicked off in Abuja. Delivering the keynote address, former Speaker of the House, Yakubu Dogara, described President Tinubu's tax reforms as an urgent response to what he described as an economic debris left behind. He highlighted the inflationary effects of past borrowing practices and stressed the need for bold and revolutionary steps to rescue Nigeria's economy.
The Nigerian Tax Act 2025 represents a structural shift towards a modernized, consolidated tax system aligned with international standards.
As one of the voices of democracy, and I believe that beyond all the roles played by all others, the media are far ahead in that it keeps the citizens informed about what government is doing, and that enables them to hold public officials accountable, for instance, to the promises that they made. Number 7.
The Special Assistant to the Executive Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Service, Olufemi Olarinde, clarified that not all funds deposited in individual bank accounts are subject to taxation, countering widespread misconceptions surrounding the recently passed tax reforms. He explained that Nigeria operates a self-assessment tax system, which places the responsibility on individuals and businesses to declare their income and file tax returns.
We think they are new. They are not new. You hear Honorable Yakubu Dogara say, since 2019, there's a provision in the law that says every taxable person, where a bank is opening a bank account, you must collect what they call a TIN then. Now it has changed to a tax ID. And a tax ID is a way of unifying or harmonizing all our identities.
The chairman, Nigerian Union of Journalists, FCT Council, Grace Ike, applauds the government's commitment in diversifying revenue sources, but called for accountability in tax administration.
You will agree with me that the taxation in Nigeria has become one of the most contentious issues of our time.
As Nigeria navigates a complex part of economic restructuring, stakeholders say the success of President Tinubu's tax reforms will depend on fairness, transparency, and the ability of government to channel revenues into tangible development. Anieti Patrick, reporting for Global TV. The federal government has suspended the implementation of the 4% free on board levy recently introduced by the Nigerian Customs Service on all imported goods. The decision was announced by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edu, followed widespread concerns from importers, trade experts, and other industry stakeholders about the levy's negative economic implications. In a letter addressed to the Controller General of Customs, Wale Edu, acting in his capacity as chairman of the Customs Services Board, ordered the immediate suspension of the levy. And on the foreign scene, United Nations appointed commission has concluded that Israel is committing genocide in its military campaign in Gaza, marking one of the most severe international condemnations of the war that has killed tens of thousands of Palestinians. The commission cited Israel's total siege of Gaza, the blockade of aid leading to mass starvation and systematic destruction of the healthcare system, and the direct targeting of children as key factors. Meanwhile, Israel has forcefully rejected the report, dismissing it as a distorted and anti-Semitic blood libel. In the meantime, Gaza City residents say they are being subjected to heavy, relentless bombardments amid reports that Israel's military has expanded its ground offensive, as at least 89 people killed by Israeli airstrikes across Gaza today. A United Nations inquiry has found that Israel's nearly 2-year war on Gaza is a genocide. Leaders from across the Arab and Islamic world have met in Qatari capital Doha and condemned Israel's cowardly attack on Qatar as well as its genocide in Gaza. 2 Nigerians who allegedly escaped from a prison in Nepal during the recent anti-government protests have been arrested by operatives of the Sashastra Simabal Indian Paramilitary Force. Journalists have learned from a report by Press Trust of India that the suspects were apprehended on Saturday at Jainagar in Bihar state while attempting to cross into the Asian country. The Nigerians were said to be among several foreign nationals and locals who fled detention facilities in Nepal after violent demonstrations rocked the Himalayan nation in recent weeks. In sports, Nigeria is setting its sights on the global sporting stage with a bold move to host the 2030 Commonwealth Games. The Commonwealth Games, which is aimed at improving the reforms of President Bola Tinubu in the world, is said to be the most prestigious sporting event after the Olympics and FIFA World Cup, which could be coming to Nigeria. The Tinubu administration says the bid reflects its renewed hope agenda for sports, following sweeping reforms that replaced the former Ministry of Sports with the National Sports Commission just a year ago. Also, Nigeria's National Sports Commission has stepped in to resolve disputes within the team Nigeria at the ongoing World Athletics Championship. The commission confirmed that all athletes' allowances and bonuses have now been paid. Director General of the Commission, Bukola Olopade, met with athletes and officials of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, promising continued government support for their welfare. He said the intervention was in line with President Bola Tinubu's directive to prioritize the needs of athletes representing the nation. Norway under-20 coach Bjørn Johansen has described Nigeria as the best physical team in their group ahead of the 2025 FIFA Under-20 World Cup in Chile. The tournament will be played from September 27th to October 19th. Nigeria and Norway are in Group F, where they will also face Saudi Arabia and Colombia. Norway will participate in the Under-20 World Cup for the 4th time in history. And that's it on News Cycle. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV, channel 365, and on Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us across all our social media platforms, now showing on your screen using @GlobalTV-NG. I am Anita Patrick. Thank you for being a part of the news.